What do you have no sympathy for? Something a lot of people may not realize is that most people that commit violent crimes were abused by children. So not only do they traumatize and damage kids for life, but they can also create violent monsters who go on to harm and kill others. There's a reason why in most prisons they are killed. Literal serial killers find pedophiles to be too evil to be kept alive. That says a lot. Not always the case, but true, these tendencies don't just appear out of nowhere overnight. Like the Josh Duggar case. For those who don't know, the Duggars are a super religious family who had a show on TLC. It came out Josh had molested 4 of his sisters and a family babysitter. He got caught on Ashley Madison. He got caught with child porn in 2019 and currently facing charges. Some people guess he was abused or saw it. No way you just wake up one day and be like that, especially coming up sheltered. When I was in college in the early 1990s, I worked with a woman who also worked at a group home for teenage boys who had been in trouble with the law. She had never encountered one who didn't have a history of sexual abuse, and a lot of it was not recognized for what it was because the most common perpetrator was, are you ready for this? Teenage female babysitters. She said that if she ever had kids, she would never hire teenage girls to look after them, and would be less worried about her daughters being molested than she would her sons. Television evangelists who prey on their elderly viewers. Touch the TV with your right hand, and use the phone in your left hand to donate, Jesus will heal you bullshit. Those televangelists follow the model of prosperity gospel in which they believe that wealth is a sign of God's favor, and that by simply believing and praying for money in addition to donating copious amounts of money to various Christian ministries is what will take you there. Last week one of those bastards claimed that Jesus hasn't come back, because they didn't give him enough money. I cannot upvote this enough. When my father-in-law was actively passing, he was soothed by having the TV evangelists on. Mostly it was music, which isn't horrible. It was when they start preaching if you believe you will be healed. He had stage 4 cancer. You are telling a dying man he didn't believe enough. This man along with my dad were the biggest believers I know, and you are telling me both of them died because they didn't believe enough. Fuck off with that. It's a hard thing to say having had abusive parents myself, but most of the time it's a crappy cycle. They were abused and lacked the self-awareness to not continue it on. I'm not saying that it's right what they are doing, just that maybe saying you have no sympathy for people who were themselves abused is a little on the rough side. Of course I have a very forgiving nature, so maybe I'm not the right person to chime in. I'm with you. I was verbally/emotionally abused growing up, and it took me a long time to realize that my mom struggles with actual mental health issues that I unfortunately also inherited. The more I got older, the more I realized she was hurting just like I was. She just didn't had the support system I was able to create for myself, and it made me feel awful for feeling so resentful. Her family life as a kid was pretty rough. We have a good relationship now, but there's something to be said for cases where the adult has a serious disorder and a difficult past as well, and they're doing their best. They grow more from forgiveness than hate, but I totally understand why people are unable to forgive. Overall, I was still lucky. I'm sorry things were rough on you, and I'm glad you were able to make it through. It always takes a lot of strength, and a lot more to forgive them. I have a similar thing going on with my mom. She's got problems and can be hard to deal with, but I heard her stories and know she was just doing the same things she was taught until she wised up and tried to be better herself. You also have to remember we are coming to a time where we are just starting to be more accepting of mental illness. I always feel bad for the generations above us that we treated like they were crazy if they wanted to seek help. I think it's important to distinguish the difference between actual child molesters and pedophiles who know they are ill, hate the way they are, haven't harmed anyone, and just want access to psychiatric help. The act is so heinous that it's easy to lump them all together, but some of them genuinely wish they were better, like many people with mental illness, and I think they should have access to help. No one chooses to be a pedophile, but acting on it is a choice, and that makes the difference. I recently saw a woman throw a gift bag out her car window at a gas station. I stuffed it back in and told her to use the trash can. A few minutes later, I was filling my soda, and she brought the bag in and gave it to me as she said, "You are very rude." And as she walked away, I replied, "You're littering, and that's illegal." I'm glad that's all she did. And it was a baby shower bag, too. Great example you're setting for your future baby. The shopping cart is the ultimate litmus test for whether a person is capable of self-governing. To return the shopping cart is an easy, convenient task and one which we all recognize as the correct, appropriate thing to do. To return the shopping cart is objectively right. There are no situations other than dire emergencies in which a person is not able to return their cart. Simultaneously, it is not illegal to abandon your shopping cart. Therefore, the shopping cart presents itself as the apex example of whether a person will do what is right without being forced to do it. No one will punish you for not returning the shopping cart, no one will fine you or kill you for not returning the shopping cart, you gain nothing by returning the shopping cart. You must return the shopping cart out of the goodness of your own heart. You must return the shopping cart because it is the right thing to do. Because it is correct. A person who is unable to do this is no better than an animal, an absolute savage who can only be made to do what is right by threatening them a law and the force that stands behind it. The shopping cart is what determines whether a person is a good or bad member of society. Glenn Danzig. Yep, I'm firmly against cheating. I know people can come up with plenty of excuses. And I also don't buy the double standard that men cheat because they're horny and women cheat because they're unhappy in their relationship. Men and women can cheat for many reasons. I know someone who was cheated on and it devastated him, he's much better now and is happily married. There are two manifestations of racism, and both are terrible. The "I hate them purple people, they aren't even human," aggression to them should be allowed. And the "oh, purple people are much better than the rest of us, they are pure while we, non-purples, are corrupt. They are in harmony with nature and virtuous." I find both kinds of racists despicable, but the second type are way worse because they are acceptable. My mom died of COVID on Monday. She didn't get vaccinated. I 1000% blame the people who started all this bullshit of misinformation about COVID and the vaccine. My mom was genuinely scared of the vaccine. She didn't trust it. She was in the hospital for about 5 weeks. On the ventilator for 3. Last Saturday we made the decision to put her into hospice. Monday they removed her from life support and she died 12 minutes later. I feel lost. I feel a depth of sadness I've never felt before. I'm angry. I don't feel like my mom died. I felt like she was taken from us. I couldn't say goodbye in person. October 10th will be 7 months I've been in the hospital waiting for a heart/bilateral lung transplant. I can't even go to her funeral on Saturday. She saw me the week before we found she had COVID. Thankfully I didn't catch it. My mom was killed with people's words. Some people even told her that the news reports of the people in the ICU, telling people to get the vaccine, that it was fake. That they are actors. It's because of people like them that I can't call my mom right now. That my mom will never meet her future grandkids. That I won't have my mom for my heart/lung transplant. That we can't watch Friends together. Have long conversations at the stupidest things. People who pretend they had the strongest relationship with someone who has just died. My dad's GF literally lied and said they were married so she could get all of his shit and sell it. She didn't tell anyone he even had kids, and at the funeral his kids weren't even mentioned because everyone wanted to be the center of attention from knowing him. People who don't like cats. I get that some people are afraid of dogs because they can actually be dangerous. But cats? They're just little dudes. 2. Child-free people who openly hate kids and are rude to them, call them crotch goblins, etc. I'm child-free myself, even got Storie leased. I don't like kids and they can be loud and annoying. But, same thing here, they are just little dudes. Kids are people and deserve to be treated kindly and with respect just like adults. People crying when they're caught intentionally doing something wrong. I used to handle over 60 people and would do random checks on their work from time to time, catch some who think they can do step 1 of a 15-step process and consider the work done. They think crying is going to work on me when I talk to them privately to discuss the quality of work, but the truth is it makes me more annoyed once they start crying. It's not pleasant for me either. I don't get a kick out of it, and we both wouldn't be doing this awkward dance if they just did the minimum of what's expected of them. Crying for deliberately breaking the rules does not get sympathy for me. People who are now dying of COVID solely because they refuse to get the vaccine/wear a mask, saying they regret not doing so. Your time to reflect has long passed, bud. This is the consequence of your actions. Those of us with pre-existing conditions have no compassion after we were told our lives were meaningless while you continued to infect us because of your willful ignorance and conspiracy cults. Karma's a bitch. People who outright refuse to get vaccinated or to wear a mask and are now sick with COVID, need ventilators or ECMO and can't get it, or spend weeks in the ICU. They brought everything they are experiencing on themselves. They are not heroes or objects of sympathy or pity. They're a fucking disgrace, and their families didn't give a shit about anyone until calamity came for them. I do feel sorry for their kids, though, who suffer needlessly. I will take the downvotes and say we all have our vices. You're on Reddit right now, so I know that for a fact. LMAO. I think no sympathy is a bit harsh. Is it obese people's fault they're obese? Absolutely. But, like how I can sympathize with drug addicts, I can also sympathize with how difficult it is to break sometimes lifelong habits. Yes, I know getting in shape and getting off drugs are very different levels of difficulty. Fat people. No, it's not anyone else's fault you're fat. It's 100% your own fault, and it's a choice. I've lived in Europe, and seeing fat people in most places is like WTF. Your body reflects your lifestyle, and fat people have no excuses at all. Especially if that person is in their 20s and 30s. You have a relatively small window of your life to be attractive and youthful, and people piss it away by eating sugars, carbs, and in vast excess while planting their asses down on the couch all night. Bigots. If you're a bigot and you need help, don't expect me to act quickly or in some cases at all. You can't spend your lives hating people and expect love in return. There's plenty of religious types who would help you quickly in the vain hope of eternal salvation, but I'm an atheist. There is no eternal salvation nor eternal damnation for me, so you will be made to suffer. I will help, I'm incapable of refusing to help, but you can be sure I'll read the instructions of everything, slowly and out loud like my reading age is that of a 6-year-old. I'll dressings and antiseptics slowly, I'll make sure I'll only use TCP and send someone to the farthest away shop to get some if I don't have any, I'll then apply it generously every 5 minutes. If you have broken something you can be damn sure I'll not be gentle either. Fuck bigots. I do have hate in my heart for people who can't be bothered to genuinely think about others' health as far as COVID, but expects everyone to think about them, when they get it. I don't feel sorry for them and I don't care that you or really anyone hates me for it. I'm sick and tired of their whiny, childish disposition, because they gotta wear a piece of cloth for a couple hours and get 2 shots in their arm. They wear clothes. They take medicine like aspirin to help themselves feel better. Yet it's hard to do the other two. Give me a break. They chose the path they did. As far as I care, they can suffer with the consequences. Maybe it'll teach them to think of others. But what if I do get sick enough to go to a hospital? You guys keep echoing your expectations of this vaccine but not the possible reality that people with the vaccine have gotten admitted into hospital. Everyone will say but the percent of vaccinated in hospitals are low, but they probably won't die etc. My whole point is, I'm vaccinated and COVID still ends up kicking my ass and guess what, I maybe even die from it. Will you still crucify me like someone who didn't take the shot? Your example with the drunk driving doesn't really relate. If I don't drink, I don't get drunk, but whether or not I take the shot or not, I can still get COVID-19 and still get life-threatening effects to the point of hospitalization and beyond. Why the hate for strangers period? My mom and pops have been addicted to drugs ever since I was 8, they used me for drugs. They woke me up at 3 a.m. almost every night to go to the clinic and use my puss for more drugs. I fucking hate them for what they put me through. Being through hell would be a bit generous for what happened to me. But I'm actually pretty lucky compared to my little sis. She was born into the worst part of both of our lives. She didn't have proper clothing, proper nourishment. Yes, I hate them for what they did to us, but I keep going. I keep going to show to the world that I could give less of a shit. But never have I ever not felt sympathy or empathy towards another human being. When you lose everything and have fucked nothing, it humbles you. The person I have the least amount of sympathy for? You have never fucking experienced their hell, you couldn't handle it. Instead of trying to help, you sit on a computer all day and piss and moan and fucking whine about your own goddamn problems. Sadly enough, most things. There's only 2 of my best friends who I have empathy for and that's about it. I lack most feelings of empathy and sympathy, though. And I hate it. I could probably have a friend of mine die right now and not really be bothered by it. It's great if someone ghosts you or something and you're not bothered by it, but it fucking sucks with trying to keep any stable relationship going, as I just can't really relate or feel things the same way. Uninsured drivers. I work as a claims adjuster, so maybe I am a little biased. Disclaimer, I have all of the sympathy in the world for someone who falls on hard times, but there are options. During the pandemic, many companies refused to cancel policies due to non-payment. If you live near mass transit, consider saying no to a car and using that, etc. What I hate is how smug some of them are. Many uninsured drivers I have dealt with have this entitled attitude that they don't need to carry insurance even though they are usually the ones at fault for the accident. I had one guy who tried to file a claim with my policyholder's policy, and he actually told our team that opened the claims that he hit my insured's parked car. I thought I read the file wrong, but confirmed with both driver and the non-policy holder admitted it to me. I asked him why he filed the claim with us because based on what he told us he was at fault. His logic: I don't have insurance so I need to go through your policyholder's policy. I explained to him that we aren't liable for we won't pay him. He smugly told me that he was entitled to file under my insured's uninsured motorist coverage.